Hi, everyone. Welcome to another countdown session on TN set course. This is for Telangana set and Tamil Nadu set. Kalyani and Ankita are here with lots of questions for you. Ankita, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, this is session 13. We are going to have total 15. Okay, Ankita, what do you?
Yes. Roland Barthes had introduced the concept of writing degree zero. So, what does this mean? It means a form of writing that is stripped of historical and ideological weight, a degree zero of writing, a form of writing practiced by beginners in the field of criticism, a form of writing free from all literary jargon, or a form of writing that talks about the degree zero of the society, that is, the working classes and the proletariat. So, what does the writing degree zero mean by Roland Barthes? It was the first full-fledged work of literary criticism by Roland Barthes, and it refers to a form of writing that is stripped of historical and ideological weight, a degree zero of writing.
Excellent. That's a wonderful question. So, Writing Degree Zero is a very important work by Roland Barthes, one of his earliest works, written at almost the same time as Death of an Author. Other early works include Elements of Semiology. Roland Barthes was a writer who moved from structuralism to post-structuralist phase. Mythologies also came in his structuralist phase. After that came works like S bar Z, S bar Z, where he talks about Balzac's Saracen. Then came the pleasure of the text. After mythologies is a structuralist text. After that, death of the author, and from there onwards, it is post-structuralism. Image, music, text is also another work that we all need to know. So when you look up the authors and their works, also give importance to the concepts. What are the concepts about? It's very important. Ankita has just told us a very important concept, writing degree zero. Okay, Ankita.
Shankar Lal is a famous detective character in Tamil pulp fiction created by Dash. So, which author created this detective character? Was it Tamil Vanan, K.R. Rangaraju, Arni Kupusami Mudaliar, or none of the above? Very popular detective character from Tamil pulp fiction. So, it was the author Tamil Vanan who created this detective hero Shankar Lal, whom we see in his novels that he travels around the world and he solves various crimes and he's battling the criminals in countries around the world. He's not only limited to one state, but he travels to various countries across the world and solves crime cases there. Improbably, he's instantly recognized and mobbed by fans and admirers everywhere he goes. So he's a very popular figure, known to everyone, and like a hero, he's crowded by fans wherever he goes.
Wow. Well, I'm not one to talk about uh, Shankar Lal. I don't want to venture into that area because I'm not a great scholar in that area, but I'll talk to you generally about pulp fiction. Pulp fiction is an important genre. Pulp fiction is a kind of popular fiction, we can say, and it was very popular in the early 20th century in America and West. Pulp fiction was what it was called at that time. Pulp fiction was mostly paperback, cheap paper, and it was not very well made books and all, very stereotypical and ordinary covers, and many times they were also serially published, tint, works that really arouse you, your excitement or sexual fantasy and things like that. were the content. Sometimes romance was there, sometimes adventure was there, sometimes crime was there, sometimes maybe war, even sports and all can be elements of uh, pulp fiction. Pulp fiction is not only novels, it was also short stories. And today, pulp fiction is not there. We talk about popular fiction. And popular fiction is a very important genre also within popular culture and literature. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Next.
Algernon Moncrieff, Lady Bracknell, and Gwendolen Fairfax are characters in which work among the following? Is it the picture of Dorian Gray, the importance of being earnest, a woman of no importance, or an ideal husband? So, all of these are works by Oscar Wilde. And these characters can be seen in his comedy, The Importance of Being Earnest, a trivial comedy for serious people. That's the subtitle of this play.
Right. Algernon Moncrief is living in London and he's visited by uh, Jack and Jack Worthing. He's also called Ernest. Now, there is a name Ernest. Both Algernon and Jack are calling themselves Ernest. So, there is a whole confusion related to the name Ernest. Gwendolyn Fairfax is Algernon's cousin who falls in love with Jack. Gwendolyn is the daughter of Lady Bracknell. They are very upper class characters, and class is a very important issue here. The Picture of Dorian Gray is Oscar Wilde's novel. A Woman of No Importance and An Ideal Husband are two of his plays. Ankita.
Which among the following is not a characteristic of Joycean prose? So, Joycean prose means prose of James Joyce. So, what is not a characteristic here of the prose of James Joyce? A high degree of stylistic and technical inventiveness and originality in the use of the pun, use of symbolism and the stream of consciousness, over reliance on religious texts and ideas, and use of a private language.
Over reliance on religious texts and ideas could be the answer.
Yes.
Now, James Joyce was a modernist, an Irish writer who was greatly interested in languages and the science of languages or linguistics, which influenced his writing to a great extent. The linguistic experimentation that Joyce carried out in his writings are a very great aspect of modernism also. The fact that language is a medium in which you construct reality. Language is not just reflecting reality. That idea is conveyed through Joyce's innovative approaches in language. He often invented words. He used a lot of puns and allusions, sometimes bordering on the vulgar and immoral, which led to his novels being banned also. And also, the play with language reflected the stream of consciousness technique that lie at the center of his text. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, for example, is such a novel that showcases linguistic experimentation. You see language changing as Stephen Dedalus, the protagonist, is growing up. In Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake, also, the play with language and the features of the avant garde are characteristic elements. So, this is a very good question. Thank you, Ankita. Next question.
Okay. So Dash's autobiography is titled My Story. It was originally published in Malayalam as Ente Katha in 1973, and the English version was published in 1976. So whose autobiography are we talking about? Is it Kamala Das, Perumal Murugan, A.K. Ramanujan, or Sarojini Naidu? Very famous autobiography. It is Kamala Das's autobiography that is titled My Story, and in Malayalam it is known as Ente Katha.
Yes, Kamala Das is a very important writer from Malayalam, and Kamala Das has written an autobiography in Malayalam as well as many short stories in Malayalam under the name Madhavi Kuti. That is what she used as a pen name. And she is well known for her liberal treatment of female sexuality. And she was considered as a rebel and a liberal and an iconoclast. And many people obviously criticized her and attacked her also for this. Uh, she also represented a certain class and represented a certain region in Kerala. And this was all very pioneering in Malayalam literature and also to a great extent in Indian cinema. She has got a Sahitya Academy Award, a Vailar Award, a Tachan Award, many awards in Malayalam that made her very famous. But you all know that Kamala Das is also a writer in English. She has written extensively in English, and her English poetry has become a hallmark of Indian literature itself. Now, before we move on, Ankita, I want to tell you a little bit about, I want to tell everybody a little bit about TNTRB Assistant Professor exam, which is coming up. We have a very huge course running for the TNTRB Assistant Professor exam, but many people contacted us for a recap course. So we are coming up with that also. And also Haryana PSC ke liye bhi recap course we have for TNTRB and Haryana PSC Assistant Professor exam also. Now, the exam has 124 vacancies. The date of notification was 24th January, and the last day to apply is 3rd March. So this is the right time to join the course. The syllabus is pretty similar to NET syllabus, so we are the best to do it. We have lots of materials and revision and quizzes and everything already there. So this recap course starts from 24th Monday. Classes are on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and time is 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So please join the course and make sure that your career is made. Once you join the course, when you study with Vallath, one thing is you will have a greater chance to pass with a rank, because that is how our students are studying and that is how it is happening. Thank you. So, Ankita?
Yes. Gabriel Garcia Marquez's The General in His Labyrinth is a dash. What type of novel is it? Is it a crime thriller, a magic realist novel, historical novel, or is it a dystopian novel? What type of novel is it by Gabriel Garcia Marquez? It
The
is a
general, yeah.
historical. It is a historical novel that reimagines the last days of Simon Bolivar. He was the liberator of South America, and generally, national histories portray him as a very heroic man, very brave man. But here, Gabriel Garcia Marquez shows him as a man who was exhausted, who was very frail, who was, very broken down with all the political betrayals and personal regrets that filled his life. So this historical novel shows a very different picture. It alternatively reimagines the last days of this heroic personality in a very different manner.
Very good. That is a very good information that you've got on Gabriel Garcia Marquez as the general in his labyrinth. You all know that he's a very famous Colombian writer who got Nobel Prize in 1982. And the first novel that he wrote is In Evil Hour. 100 Years of Solitude is the most famous novel, 1967 it was. And it is an epic saga of a family, the Buendia family. The Autumn of the Patriarch is also another very important novel that shows a tyrant like the general in his labyrinth, and a very exquisite love story is Love in the Time of Cholera. You must know that Gabriel Garcia Marquez also wrote a number of novellas and short fiction also. The Chronicle of a Death Foretold is a very brilliantly written novel. Memories of My Melancholy Horse is a later one. And there are many short stories and short story collections like that that he has written. He is the voice of Latin America. Latin American literature is sometimes asked in NET and SET exams in Telangana and Tamil Nadu SET also. You can expect some very famous authors of Latin American literature. So please look at this also. Gabriel Garcia Marquez wrote an autobiography, if I remember, Living to Tell the Tale. and also news of a kidnapping that is also famous, I remember. So please take a look at all these authors and works from Latin America. Ankita.
What is common among the following authors? Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, Lawrence Sterne, Tobias Smollett. They were famous pirates and courtiers of the Elizabethan era. They were biographers and prose writers of the Civil War era. They were preachers of the Restoration era, or they were novelists of the Augustan era. Very famously, all of them were novelists of the Augustan era, and they were called as the four wills of the English novel by George Sainsbury.
Yes, if the English novel is a cart or a carriage, these are the four wheels. Now, what is important about all of them is also that they established realism as the mainstay of fiction in 18th century as well as later. Samuel Richardson employed psychological realism, and Henry Fielding, Lawrence Sterne, Tobias Smollett, they wrote with a touch of picaresque element, or the rogue heroes they created. Many of their characters were very down to earth characters, common man. Henry Fielding's Tom Jones is called The History of Tom Jones, a Foundling. Why history? Because it is realism. It is a real thing that happened. And he's a foundling, not a hero. Now, why did novels like this develop, and realism, why did it become important? Because at this time there was a religious need to know about the ordinary lives of the working class people, how they resist temptation, and how they experience divinity in their daily lives. Remember, the 18th century was the time of deism, when God had to be known according to the religious principle of deism. We had to know God through reason, through experience, empiricism, rather than some supernatural manifestation. So it was a very religious purpose, and it is the foundation of empiricism that is laid in novels of the 18th century like this. And from here, you can see realism expanding, and in the 19th century, it became a big movement.
And I think the rise of the middle class was also responsible for this rise of realism, because they wanted to read things that were more connected to them rather than
Absolutely. Yes.
fantasies. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So choose the wrongly matched pair. So here we have certain concepts of Sanskrit poetics and their propounders, but one pair is wrongly matched. So Alankara by Bhamaha, Guna by Dandin, Vakrokti by Ananda Vardhana, and Anumiti by Mahima Bhatta. But here one pair is wrong. That is Vakrokti. It is not by Ananda Vardhana, it is by
Kuntaka.
Kuntaka. Yes, Kuntaka.
There are 8 schools of Indian poetics, as you might know. The first one, Rasa, is the propounder is Bharata. Alankara, Riti, Guna, Dhvani. Dhvani is also an important one. Uh, then Vakrokti, then Anumana, Anumiti. These are the 8 schools of Indian poetics. Their propounders, their major works are all important. Every detail that you need for Sanskrit and other aspects of Indian literature is there in our Indian encyclopedia. Encyclopedia of Indian Literature in English is a very amazing book. I can say that there is no other book like this in the world, maybe, that compiles everything. There is so much on Dalit literature, so much on Kashmiri literature, Indian feminism, Northeast literature, everything together, including Sanskrit and Tamil poetics. This is a brilliant effort that we have made. I'm just reminding you to take a look at it. Okay, Ankita.
The Plain Dealer is a restoration comedy by Dash, first performed on 11th December 1676. And this play is based on Moliere's Les Misanthropes. So, who wrote this comedy? Is it by John Vanbrugh, George Etheredge, William Wycherley, or Colley Seba? So, it's a play by William Wycherley. He was also a very prominent restoration playwright. His other important plays are Lavina Wood, The Country Wife, and also William Congreve is very important. So many questions have come, across the years in both Tamil Nadu and Telangana sets. restoration playwrights, and this section of restoration comedy is very, very important for both these exams.
Yes, and the plain dealer is even more interesting because it has a character called Captain Manly, and Vaishali later came to be called Manly Vaishali because this play was extremely important. At the time this play was being enacted, Vaishali was in prison, and the king got him out of prison because he loved this play very much. Captain Manly is not believing in anybody except his girlfriend Olivia and his bestie Vernish. And then Captain Manly goes to the war to take part, and he believes only in these two people. He gives them all his money. And what happens is these two cheat him. That is what happens at the end. So that is why Shelley is the plain dealer. Now, next one.
So, which works among the following have been produced by the Beat Generation poets? Howl, Naked Lunch, On the Road, New Lines. So, which will be the correct option? A and B, A and C, ABC, or all of the above?
ABC.
Correct. Yes, yes.
Howl by Allen Ginsberg. Naked Lunch by
William
William
S.
S.
Burroughs,
Burroughs. On the Road by
Jack
Jack
Kerouac.
Kerouac. These are Robert Conquest edited New Lines, which is associated with movement poetry. The Beat generation were very important in the 50s and 60s, and they were very explicit in their subject matter and depiction of sexuality. They were very rebellious. They stood against capitalism and the American militarism. They advocated sex and drugs and hedonism, and they actually inaugurated a new era in American literature. Next.
Who said that? And being a novelist, I consider myself superior to the saint, the scientist, the philosopher, and the poet, who are all great masters of different beats of man alive, but never get the whole hog. So, who said this? Is it E.M. Foster, James Joyce, D.H. Lawrence, or Henry James? So, it was very famously said by D.H. Lawrence in his essay, Why the Novel Matters.
Why the Novel Matters is a very important work by D.S. Lawrence. He called novel one bright book of life. And all of them have actually contributed to the theory of the novel. E.M. Foster wrote aspects of the novel. Henry James wrote art of fiction. James Joyce did not write a book on the novel, but his novels inaugurated a new phase of the English novel. Thank you for this. And next question.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a portal fantasy novel for children by whom? Is it Ursula K. Le Guin, C.S. Lewis, Ray Bradbury, or Terry Pratchett? You know, all of these writers are either associated with science fiction or fantasy. And it is by C.S. Lewis who wrote this very famous series of, Chronicles of Narnia. So it is also by C.S. Lewis, The Lion, The Witch, and the Wardrobe. Fantasy novels, science fiction, detective fiction, all these genres will be very important for these exams.
Yes, you can look up the very major works of all these writers. C.S. Lewis was not only a science fiction writer, he has written other works also, like The Allegory of Love, which is a book on courtly love. C.S. Lewis and his friend J.R.R. Tolkien were also medievalists. They contributed a lot to medieval studies also.
Gauri Vishwanathan's Masks of Conquest does not talk about which of the following does not. Literature as a tool of colonial control, displacement of indigenous education and knowledge, contemporary classroom experiences of teaching Shakespeare in India, and contradictions in colonial policy. So it does not talk about contemporary classroom experiences of teaching Shakespeare in India. This seminal work was published in 1990, and it very extensively talks about how literature was instituted as a discipline in India as a tool of colonial control and how it displaced indigenous education and knowledge. It also talks about how the contradictions in colonial policy regarding education, were used as a weapon to dominate the Indians and consolidate their rule in India. But it does not talk about contemporary classroom experiences of teaching Shakespeare in India.
Very good. Thank you. Gauri Vishwanathan's Masks of Conquest is one of the many books from the discourse or discipline of English studies in India. In our net and set exams, this is a very important area. In the in the 1990s, Susi Sataru, Sara Suleri, Braj B. Kachru, then Harish Trivedi, Meenakshi Mukherjee, like that, a series of very important Indian born and Indian based writers have created a discourse on English studies in India. A whole list of these works is there in our Indian encyclopedia. Those who are our students may please look it up. And remember, English studies in India, you can also Google search and study. It's a very important aspect of the exam. Our Northeast SLET 30-day online recap course is also going on. You can always log on to www.vallath.in. We have centers, offline coaching at Trivandrum and Ernakulam. Those who don't know, please note, we have coaching centers at Ernakulam and Trivandrum both. And we also have online courses on many exams. In front of me here, Ankita, I have a whiteboard, and there are 30 courses that are running right now in Vallath.
Yes.
30 courses running for different exams and in different modes. Please check it out. So that brings us to the end of this discussion. Ankita, I think we did a great job bringing to them nice authors and works which they can read upon.
Yes.
Dear friends, wish you all the best. Please join us tomorrow also to check out the next countdown number 12. Ankita, until then, we have to bid goodbye to them.